Alrighty, so this will be our last code along for the Udemy course. Okay, so probably one of the things I will do in our Learn Together is get your feedback on this course because I'm a little iffy whether I want to use it again, and your feedback will be impactful to my decision. So, having said that, here's what I want you to know. I named, and I want you to name the files as you go through these sections. So, for the section 14 that we're finishing up from last time, reading and editing PDFs. And by the way, I do recommend, I did this for myself. I'll show you here, bring over my editor, is I do create a virtual environment. I talked about this last week. Again, I can't make you. I just recommend doing it. I ended up realizing that after what I did in week 13 was I renamed the directory, and that threw the whole virtualization off, so I didn't do it this time. But I combined the rest and brought over the stuff we had done from last week, so I had all of my 13 and 14 in one directory. So from a file perspective, I went ahead and gave you those names, PDF, read, write, and then combining them together. These seem to work without issue. I did have to import that library. Cool. And then I did run into a problem here when I was doing, not on the example where he actually wrote a small function to take in the PDF and output just the text parts of it, but this one where he was reading from using this library that he installed. And I went, and this is what I recommend you do as well. And let me just show you where I ran into so you will hopefully, don't beat your head too much. It was right here on the runs. And again, because you haven't done this yet, this will look a little foreign, but not too much. You import the library you installed. You point to, and I actually ended up for both of his examples downloading his files just so I had them. But when I came to doing the run, and the run is the idea of you have a line of text and you have a run, meaning the start and end of one type of formatting into the other. And in the case that I ran into, I couldn't get these to actually work, was the runs. The idea, even you were specifying within there that paragraph, but I thought, okay, the usability of something like that, totally good, but there must be a new way to do it. So I was looking through his documents and I see add runs where you add content, and I see run.font, but for some reason, the way the library has been rewritten, that particular thing no longer worked. And I was like, this has kind of become a theme, I think, on here. And then I started looking around and I saw this comment and I thought, yeah, that's pretty right on, right? That I think the problem with this course is that it was done in computers. We see this. Libraries change so much. And we want them to. We want people to be constantly updating their libraries. But if they're not, and you're trying to run this code, you may run into more headaches than it's worth. And that's kind of where I'm settling a little bit. But again, your feedback is important. So when you get to that word, and I called it word underscore RW read write, venture out, look at some of the other commands here that you can do. Even as I looked at some of their, and I don't know what version he used, and I see add runs, I see add paragraphs, right? I don't see, now these are actually adding a table. So you can play around with some of these other things in your code, that's fine. But just know that, and maybe, one of you will find the equivalent, because I didn't find, after a little bit of looking, what the equivalent was. Okay, so that's for the rest of 14. And when I got to 15, I was like, okay, how far are we going to get before Google stops this? And here's what I'm talking about, is on the email. Where's it at? Sending email. Like, I'm not going to show you my login, but this is actually, I was kind of curious. I was like, I got all the way to starting this. This is kind of an interesting one where you connect, you have a connection string, which is Gmail. In this case, I thought, okay, he's using Gmail because I was first worried he was going to use Microsoft, but he didn't. He used Gmail, which is totally cool. The port might have been the issue here. Then I connected, and by the way, hopefully by now you're doing this as if he's running on the command line, but you can just run print and get this output as well. Again, I'm knowing most of you. I think I've seen this in most of your code. But when we went to login, it totally threw an error. And I'm like, okay, we're going to stop there because I can't imagine that from this, and you can see that he was able to do it and he even showed the password. And I was like, okay, I think it's good. I do think it's good to know how to do this, how to send and receive emails through code, because I think his example of sending an email once something is actually successful, I think is a great thing. I've done that before in industry where I've read some files, I've written an output, and I've emailed somebody to tell them it was done. I think those are good things. But the amount of things we'd have to jump over to get this done for Gmail or whatever you're using seems like too big of a run. So here's what I want you to do for this last one. Just do a markdown file and then just take notes on both of these videos, okay? So I'll clearly set that up. I just realized I wasn't. So for 45 and 46, right? Now, if you want to try to work on this to get it working, it's totally up to you. But I'm going to, at minimum, say this is what you want to do. You can do for this last one. And then we're going to drop this last one because we're going to move next time looking at the Tinkerer. I think that's the name of it for the rest of these. Okay. So again, that comment helped me go, yeah, that's how I've been feeling sometimes. But I also feel like it's really good just to go out and look at documentation for whatever library you're using. And if you don't find the one that he specifically showed, play around with some of these other ones to see, because I was able to save those files once I was actually able to write to them, which was good. Okay, so that's your input. That's your feedback or your guidance for this last Udemy section we're going to do. Have a good one.